Welcome to Relationship Nation. I'm Freddie Martin, and today we're going to talk about how to build rapport using nonverbal communication. And I'm going to show you the steps on how you use your body language and your expressions to build rapport without words. As you know, most of us use language to build rapport because we ask questions and want to know all about somebody and all that kind of stuff. And that absolutely works. It's a great way. There's also another way to build rapport, and that's what they call matching and mirroring physiology. So think about it this way. If you see friends that are sitting together across from each other at a table having a conversation, look at their physiology. Most of the time they're like leaning into each other and shaking their heads yes and raising their eyebrows, and they'll move their hands very similarly and have the same kind of pace of language they're using. And so all these things, hands, eyebrows, face, expression, posture, that builds rapport too. Sometimes you can watch, like I've watched a group of people who are sitting around a table and they're all reading the newspaper. And you can tell that they're extremely comfortable because they have the same posture as they're sitting there reading the newspapers together. That's rapport. When you are in synchronicity with your body, it builds like a subconscious feeling of comfort and rapport. I think about that I saw some guys at the tennis club and they were sitting there after a tournament having a beer. And it was really fun to watch them because they were all kind of like leaning back in their chairs. They had their legs crossed over another leg, pretty much the same, not necessarily the same leg, but definitely a leg, had their hands on their thighs, and they're just laughing and having fun, but they're all in the same posture. And the only time they would change is to get down, get a beer, and take a sip. So that was an unconscious way of building rapport. So let's say you decide that you've gone through all the steps and you're going to go out on your first date with this guy who's a potential mate for you. And you're there and you want to build rapport in many ways other than just verbally. So one way to do that is to match and mirror. So let's say, for instance, that you sit down and he's sitting across from you and he sits really, really tall and straight and has his hands on the table like this and holds his head. His posture is really straight. So what you can do in order to create rapport, nonverbal rapport, is to sit straight and tall the same as him, put your hands on the table and match his posture. And when he speaks to you, let's say he talks really, 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 really fast. So in order for you to build rapport, you need to talk really, 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 really fast because that builds rapport. If, for instance, he talks very slowly, then you talk slowly. And let's say you're sitting there talking and everything's going really well and he starts getting very animated with his hands, so then you get animated with your hands too. Or maybe he crosses his hands over like this and then starts nodding up and down. You cross your hands like this and nod up and down. Let's say he leans his head to the right. You're across from him, so you want to mirror him, so you lean your head to the left. Another way to build rapport that brings comfort to people is to have a look on your face, raise your eyebrows like, oh, this is really fascinating, and then nod. And kind of tilt your head a little bit and nod, because that helps the person understand that you're really listening, you're fascinated by what they have to say, and you continue to nod. It sounds pretty crazy how this works, but honestly, just look around. Try it with your friends and family and coworkers. If somebody's talking to you and you're standing at a counter and they're leaning on the counter, just very calmly lean on the counter the same as them. Put your hand like this if this is what they're doing. And then as soon as they change their position and they, take their hand down, then just very gradually, not just like, you're not just copying them like this, like a little game. You're doing it very casually, not really noticeable. A couple minutes or a few seconds after they do it, then you go ahead and mirror them. And there have been so many times when I've been having a great conversation with a coworker and I notice that we are exactly the same posture. Or I'll be sitting with a group of friends and we're sitting on the couch and I'll look down and we've all got our legs crossed over exactly the same way with our hands in exactly the same position. It's just, you just do it naturally. And that's a really great way to come into kind of an awkward situation with somebody the first time you've met them in person and get them to have a natural subconscious feeling of rapport and calmness and comfort being with you. Now, there's another thing you can use this for too, is that, say, for instance, you go on your date and you go pretty quickly, this is not the one for me, and I do not want to spend an hour with this person. It's just like, this is a no-go. I am not going to be with this person. Well, you can use the rapport building to break rapport. You can, whatever they do the opposite. They're sitting like this, sit like this. They talk fast, talk really slow. You can break rapport by looking at your watch. You can break rapport by looking at the door or looking down at your feet. Just do not mirror their physiology. Do not mirror their pace. Completely do the opposite, and everybody gets super uncomfortable. And this would be kind of a fun thing for you to do anyway, just because this is something you need to practice before it becomes natural. Because like for me, because I've done it for so many years, that I just naturally find myself mirroring people's physiology to not, I don't even think about it anymore. It just, I mirror it, build rapport, builds confidence, people feel safe with you, and that they know that you really care about them and you're there. And that's, you'll get used to it. You'll just get used to doing it. Just give it a try. Practice, practice, practice. And I think you're really going to enjoy it because you can use it in so many different ways, not just on a first date, but with friends and family and kids and everybody. It's just a fantastic tool. And it's just called matching and mirroring.